What I've done. I don't know the rest of the words. Okay, whatever. Welcome to
I honestly would have gone terribly stupid.
Either way, welcome to StillerBros at the movies, and today we are going to see our first Transformers movie in
almost 5 years.
Almost 5 years, because we are going to see Bumblebee. Now, you're probably wondering why we did not go to see Transformers last night. Because Age of Extinction was such ass that we boycotted that movie so hard, and we did it the real way. Not like we bought tickets to the last night and then set them on fire to make a YouTube video about them. Like, we were really like, we're not going to see this movie. We're not paying to see this movie.
We are, however, paying to see this one because Michael Bay is out.
Michael Bay is gone!
Mostly.
His name's still on it, but he had nothing to do with this. He does not get a writer's credit. He does not get a director's credit. He is just a non-entity to this movie.
Except he's a producer.
Shut up. Anyway, Bumblebee. When this movie was announced, it basically seemed like a meaningless attempt for Hasbro to make a cinematic universe to compete with Marvel, and Paramount was happy to oblige since they lost their end to the Marvel Cinematic Universe the second Disney bought the rights to Marvel, and thus got all the Iron Man movies.
Yeah. And and Thor and Avengers and everything.
But here we go. Travis Knight, the director of Kubo and the Two Strings, which we've seen now. That was really good.
And apparently after this, he's up for Guardians Volume 3, which, if they're not going to rehire James Gunn, by the way, hashtag rehire James Gunn, get it trending, people. Then fine, I guess we'll give him the reins.
But we got Travis Knight at the lead. We've got an emphasis more on character, which is something that this series has been sorely lacking. And we got the big stars of Haley Steinfeld as the lead, and John Cena as essentially playing the role that John Turturro played in the original.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. This is kind of the movie that I thought the first Transformers was going to be, just judging by the trailers.
Yeah. Where
essentially it's less like a big, epic action movie and more like E.T. That's not what we've been getting from the Transformers franchise.
It's kind of what we got from the It's a little like we got from the first Transformers movie.
But with a little bit more of a frat boy humor and aesthetic of let's just blow everything up. And then it progressively got, and then the movies got progressively worse.
Yeah. So we're kind of going back to basics. Bumblebee, we got Bumblebee back in act. And for the most part, it's just him.
It's him, a couple Decepticons, and that's it. We don't have to introduce a bunch of new characters. We don't have to do a lot. And it's going to be interesting. And the biggest thing that I think a lot of people liked is the fact that the characters are now back to their Generation 1 forms in a lot of ways. Bumblebee is an old Beetle again. Optimus Prime looks like the old form again, and not just the big pieces that you can tell where it kind of opened up to reveal the robot skeleton inside.
Yeah. Plus we got what looks like Starscream, but we've been told it's not Starscream, sadly.
But it looked like Starscream, so it got our hopes up a bit.
And we got triple changers in this movie, something we have not gotten in any other Transformers movies.
Yes, we're not huge Transformers fans. In fact, the 2007 movie is the reason we know anything about Transformers and why we watched the Transformers animated series that came of it in like 2008. Yeah. But other than that, I think this movie is gonna be something bigger, because at the very least, which is something for a smaller movie like this, because in the long run, this is gonna be it's an origin story, but it also seems to be a soft reboot where it's just like, okay, forget everything we did in last night, where it's like, you need to pay attention to this because that's gone now.
Yeah.
And I personally am hoping for a post-credit scene where Pinkie Pie just suddenly shows up from My Little Pony, just suddenly shows up and is like, I'm here to talk to you about the Toy Box Initiative. Yeah. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I would definitely love it if it did.
Yeah. But we got we're kind of softly rebooting the entire franchise. Everything is coming together. This seems like a very smaller, more self-contained story where where it's not going to be going to Cybertron, where we're not just going to jump right to big end of world situations.
Yeah, so either way, I just want this movie to be better than Age of Extinction, where I was actively waiting for it to end. Especially since we're not going to a late enough showing where I'm going to be constantly complaining that I've got work in the morning and I don't want to have to just go to bed, and I don't want to have to go to bed at the second we get home.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's about it. We've been kind of going on a bit of a tangent, so let's just we'll see you guys after the channel. Okay, so that was the best one of those in years, and take that what you will. Is it the best Transformers movie in years? Which it definitely is. And how many years you can judge by the last time you actually liked this, is whether it be 2007 or 1980 something when the Transformers animated movie came out.
Yeah.
Or it can also be the best E.T. ripoff with a giant robot. Yes, that is its own thing. We even got another one earlier this year. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the best Transformers movie in years. The best kind of movie like this in years.
We probably should have gotten that as a Transformers. That should have been the first Transformers movie. Like that whole thing. Like we could flash back 11 years and make that the first Transformers movie. That would be great.
Granted, Haley Steinfeld would not be as old as she would not be able to play the part of Charlie, and John Cena would probably still just be a wrestler who just wants to be an actor.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the kind. But yeah, that is what the first Transformers movie should have been.
Yeah. So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
First of all, Travis Knight is freaking amazing.
Yeah, the direction was the action scenes are great. The visual storytelling in the entire first act of the movie was great. You just knew everything you needed to, and without it being hugely big way explained to you by just tedious dialogue.
And at the same time, he kind of has proven that he is a fan of this franchise, which is something we sorely miss in these movies, because Michael Bay, say what you will, he's not a fan of he clearly didn't take this job because he was a fan of Transformers. He took
the job on all 5 Transformers movies because he wanted to see how creatively he could blow stuff up.
And with the fan service that is in this movie, you totally see Travis Knight is the person who could bring this to life perfectly, because he is a fan in a huge way of the 80s version of this stuff, of the 1980s animated stuff.
Whether it be things like Cybertron looking exactly like it did in the 1980s in the original 1980s version, whether it be the original G1 designs being reutilized and redesigned to fit better to fit somewhat with the Bay aesthetic, but still be something older, but still be loyal to the G1 designs. That's something. And whether it be the fact that he recognizes these characters and wants them to actually be characters and not just ways and not just the big robots that are basically pushing the story along.
Yeah, the humor is actually a lot better in this movie. It's not frat boy humor, and the fact that he's got Pamela Adlon, a very accomplished voice actress and comedian and writer in her own right, coming in, doesn't hurt the fact that the parents are not cringy, don't have all the cringy humor.
And Christina Hodson, the writer of this movie, sole female writer, that's something. Did a great job of balancing the jokes, writing these characters in such a way. Like Memo, the main male lead of this movie, actually, he has some really funny lines, and though he's probably one of the more athletic nerds I've seen in a movie ever, but hey, great to fight that stereotype a bit.
Haley Steinfeld, her career confuses me, because she started out in the big Academy Award nomination, then she's worked her way backwards into this.
Yeah, she's done it's this the Pitch Perfect movies. Usually
into this. Usually you could do
Usually you
Oscar
do the-
stuff after you got all this stuff out of your system.
after you do the comedies and the big franchise action movies and stuff like that.
But she does great. But obviously she does great because she was nominated for an Oscar when she was 12. She's never gonna phone it in.
Yeah, and I love the music choices in this. Every song works. Well, not just for the narrative, but for the fact that it actually is good music from the 80s, because this movie builds on 80s nostalgia because Stranger Things happened.
Yeah. John Cena, he's kind of there.
Mispronounced his name. It's John Cena!
Right. He's kind of there. He's not exactly bad guy, but he's not exactly a good guy either. It's kind of an interesting character, but
The idea is basically that he's one of the few army guys who the Decepticons approach, and he's like, guys, they're called Decepticons, so maybe we should, I don't know,
be a little wary of these guys.
so that's something. Dylan O'Brien plays Bumblebee for like a couple scenes in the beginning,
Yeah.
and I was kind of questioning why they cast him. Not because I don't think Dylan O'Brien's a good actor, but just simply because it kind of felt like they were being a little fan servicey to Dylan O'Brien's particular fans.
But he works.
He worked so well.
He gave Bumblebee this personality that you don't get from the Bay Transformers movies, and that's kind of a personality you get throughout the entire movie. Is that Bumblebee has this personality. He's not this. Which he didn't have a personality in Transformers 1. He kind of had a personality.
In the 5 Transformers movies, Bumblebee was basically a dog, okay? He was a dog. He was Sam Witwicky's pet dog. Here he's like, he spends most of the movie like basically this amnesiac, but he's not a badass like Jason Bourne. He's just basically like the Iron Giant or Alliance or something like that. But here he actually has a personality. When we see him like this, he has the personality of essentially the young upstart rookie who's getting into this, and he wants to do right by his superior officer.
Yeah, we're getting, and this personality he's getting, it's amazing because he's almost silent throughout most of the movie, and he's playing off Haley Steinfeld, and him and Haley Steinfeld are playing off each other, so that's props to both Haley Steinfeld and the special effects supervisors who had to basically play Bumblebee.
Yeah, the animation is incredible, but that's what we get from hiring an animation director. The first shot of this movie is an incredible action sequence in CGI. So that's basically Travis Knight in his element, and then he jumps right back. And then when we jump into the live action sequences, it still looks good, which is great because not a lot of animation directors make the jump to live action so well, especially if they've only directed one other thing.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and then we got Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime. I feel like we're not spoiling the fact that Optimus Prime is in this movie.
Yeah.
So, but if this did well enough over the last couple weeks to actually warrant them greenlighting Prime at some point later this year, at some point at the beginning of the next year, I would not say no.
Yeah.
I'd probably be pretty happy, especially if they got the kind of team that they had behind this.
And I think we need to say it now. Peter Cullen needs to record every single word that ever existed or ever will exist in every single inflection he possibly can, because literally nobody else can play Optimus Prime but him from now forever.
Yeah, nobody. The guy has just basically claimed Optimus Prime. This is one role that they probably should not give to Brad Garrett.
And obviously, yeah, there will be imitators out there for when Peter Cullen does eventually retire and or die, but they'll just be cheap imitations to what was the perfect person to play this character.
This kind of has nothing to do with what we're saying. It's just essentially Optimus Prime is awesome, and he's
not a fucking cold-blooded murderer like he was in
Transformers, or in at least the last two of the first Transformers trilogy. Or Age of Extinction, or that part where he blew up.
Everything after the first movie, he was just kind of a dick who killed people. Who seems to relish in the fact of killing people.
I mean, he just blew up Kelsey Grammer. No fucking remorse or anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else can be said? Bumblebee works on like every level that it's trying to.
It's a little bit more little kiddie than the other Transformers movies, but
I feel like it kind of drags in the middle, but it works on the 80s aesthetic fact, because there are times where it feels legitimately like they were writing something akin to the Goonies.
yeah.
But I think Bumblebee it works. It works way better than the last 4 Transformers movies have worked, at least.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think the Hasbro Cinematic Universe has turned around in the right way.
Yeah.
Looking forward to, don't know what's going to happen next, but hey, we don't have to boycott this anymore.
Yeah.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to wrap it up for the night. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to tune in. Actually, it's the end of the year for us. We're not going to be making another episode this year.
Yep.
So be sure to tune in next year when the bad guys are teaming up.
Bye.
Bye.